Hi there. Hello again. This is Larry Podsobinski, author of In the Grip of Paranoid Schizophrenia. Third edition is the one I authorize and endorse. Uh, so I was just sitting there taking a break this late night, early morning from on sundry things around here during the pandemic. So I say self-sheltering. Uh, So, which is doesn't bother me to stay at home because I ordinarily do anyway. It was the way I am. But the pandemic is a terrible thing. I hope you all stay well. But I was just occurred to me though, taking a break from doing things around here, sitting there meandering through my night, and to mention a couple of things briefly, a few things actually. Uh, well, that I was planning before the pandemic struck, talking with a friend known as is I'm not Mr. I'll just call him Cool, Kuhl is his real last name, and I met him at my book signing in 2008. I mean, and he also has a history of paranoid schizophrenia. Whatever his diagnosis is today, they can change. His mind did from paranoid type to residual type 13 years ago. But we were planning to have sort of a more or less impromptu. Uh, there's not much we could have forethought out to talk about, except our own experiences in dealing with that state of schizophrenic, psychotic state of mind, surreal state of mind, and making you do things that you ordinarily wouldn't do, like he did what he did, and the Secret Service picked him up, and his file's only 14 pages long, though, while mine's like a half an inch or so thick on thin paper too. So we were planning to talk like that for a video talk for you all on the schizophrenia illness, and that didn't happen yet. He's had health problems, and the pandemic hit, and so I was thinking along those lines one day, and I said to myself, an idea. So I mentioned to this friend I have met 40 years ago now when I first came to Ohio, and I told her that if she'd like to, we could do like one of those video talks like she's seen on YouTube, and corroborating things that went on in the story in the grip, because she knew me before I was the John Lennon personality, and during that too, she could tell you how I acted. But and what the town said, being a small town, the reaction was locally. And if you want the federal reaction on the federal level, the offices I contacted, it's in the story in the grip of paranoid schizophrenia. And so, but she knew me before then when I was the Dr. Pod from the Planet God personality, also mentioned in the book. And after that, I understand how all this works and I take medication, antipsychotics, or I wouldn't be well. It's all too clear to me. I don't want to be the time lunatic like I was. You know what I mean? Frankly. But there was those two really different video talks I was planning on for my audience on YouTube here who follow me. I see some people do follow this, subscribe to me, but so I was planning that preempted by the pandemic. I mean, those two video talks right now currently, but in addition to that, announcing that it might be upcoming whenever is possible. But I can also use this time to announce that for the last year now, this is just turned April 2020, but for the last year, I've been working on a writing about a new experience with my psychiatric treatment that I gave a copy of this. My psychiatrist resigned last year too. Of my psychiatrist as well as 20 years. 20 years, my psychiatrist, she resigned. It's heartbreaking, frankly. But I never thought I'd lose her. But but so I went into this experience. The frame, it's in the framework of the context of the title of this book, which is titled Xanax Withdrawal and Aging and Residual Schizophrenia. Okay, so it has to do with Xanax and Xanax withdrawal and aging, as in the 45 years I've had schizophrenia now, I believe. Uh, so, uh, so it's a deep, interesting train of thought that I've gotten through 90 whole pages written, polished, and it ends with a chapter questioning certain questions about what I wrote about my experience when I went into Xanax withdrawal a year ago. Now I'm safe and sound from that now. Don't worry about that, any clinicians. But what happened in the experience, the hallucinations and the bizarre experience I had, I talk about, and I have to ask what, because Xanax is known in my research and confirmed by my new psychiatrist nurse to be the most fatal benzodiazepine benzo to come off of and go into withdrawal from. Is the most fatal one is Xanax, especially when done alone by yourself at home the way I inadvertently did it. So was it a near-death experience, what I described in the chapter 2, 3, and 4, and maybe 5? Was that an actual medically known stage of death or dying, and a near-death experience as I claim it was? Is how the book, the first part of the book starts off, and then it goes into more of the transition between doctors when the psychiatrist resigned, and things happening, and with the anxiety and the aging factor, the back problem I've developed later in life is now comes into play in the aging process, and other factors in aging with schizophrenia too, from being young, like 21 or 20, and till you're 61, 62, like I am now. There's a lot that you could say, I can say about, yet to say too, because I have written and not written yet too. The book is not done. But so this is what the book is about. And the fact that Xanax, it seems the question is posed, the book ends with at this point where I see the doctor on the telephone with the pandemic next week and the week after, the primary and the new psychiatrist, and ask them if they have time to read a copy of this file I can transmit to them, and weigh in on the question of was that a near-death experience, and also the fact that does Xanax, it's not an addictions problem when you're on Xanax for 15 or 16 years like I have been, and they try to take you off of it. It's a question of it changing the brain chemistry in the brain chemical dopamine, and there's also another brain chemical involved that changes too. But so does this mean that you always have to have Xanax attached to the dopamine? And my research is right in order for it to work and do its normal thing in the human body? I mean, or it's not going to be, it's a chemical brain change brought on by big pharma and not any abuse. And unwittingly on my part, I was never told a word that this stuff could be dangerous. As my book, documenting my research is showing me that it is. So yeah, no benzo-free facilities, that you shouldn't be started on them. But for those who are on them, it's a different story, apparently, my research shows. So my book will go there, and when it will be ready, I'm hoping the writing part of it will be done by the end of this year anyway. And then there's the formatting issues, which will be a headache and nightmare for me personally, because there is no help this time around with this. Uh, like with in the Grip of Paranoid Schizophrenia, which is available right now as a precursor, a prerequisite for this Xanax Withdrawal and Aging and Residual Schizophrenia I'm working on now. Peace. I'll get the book to you as soon as I can. Thank you for following me on YouTube and wherever you do. Thank you.